Well, good evening, everybody. Ken Johnson here with you, and I'm just looking at some data here on my phone. And of course, a lot of people across the country gearing up for a big winter storm this weekend. And unfortunately, for those of you who are hoping for snow across the South, well, we have to keep on hoping. At least this go round, we miss out. But there is a lot of cold air dropping south, and a lot of uncertainties next week. Yesterday, I was talking about how we might have a chance to see a winter storm in the deep south, and it's still not off the table. It's still not out of the question. Weather pattern somewhat favors it. Just depends on how everything comes together. I will say that today's run to the GFS computer model not nearly as impressive as it was 24 hours ago. Matter of fact, if you look at the computer models in general, most of them don't bring winter weather. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out. I don't think it's totally out of the question at this point in time. So remember, this is Weather After Dark. This is a place where you get to ask me whatever you want to ask me. We talk about whatever you want to talk about. Well, for the most part, I try to stay away from politics. But we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Normally, Weatherman Cam is here with me, but he is not here tonight. He needed a break, so he's at home. But of course, we got a big winter storm again on the way, and the big winter storm. And I'll show you some graphics here in a minute to kind of talk about it some. But the winter storm is going to be impacting the major part of the winter storm anyway. Kansas, Missouri. We're talking about central southern Illinois, central southern Indiana, mostly southern parts of Ohio there, Kentucky, mostly north of Tennessee. And then you jump on the warm side of things, and there could be some severe weather across the deep south tomorrow, Sunday. Probably not as intense as it was last weekend. Last weekend was a full-blown tornado outbreak with the line. It's called a line of thunderstorms produce those tornadoes for the most part. But this weekend don't have near the amount of energy in the atmosphere for severe weather down there, but there'll be some. Probably some tornadoes too, the spin up kind of variety. Probably not as many as last weekend, but there'll still probably be some there. So, what's up, Riley? And yes, cold weather is approaching, Catherine. And I'm going to make some chili. You're right; it's a good idea. I was actually tonight I was going to make some gumbo. What's up there, Ryan? I was going to make some gumbo, but I wound up going to eat at a place called Volcano here in Wichita Falls, which is sushi, all you can eat sushi, and it was fantastic. So, all right, so let's try to talk a little bit about some weather. So, what I'm going to do, give me just a second here. I'm going to have to bring up some computer models so we can kind of take a look at things here in just a moment. So, I'm going to have to do what's called a screen share. There it is. All right, so we are on the screen share now and make sure it's there. All right, so let me figure out the best way to make this thing work here. That's not, I don't like that there, so I'm trying to find a better way. That'll probably work. So let's just go with this one here. All right. So let's talk about what's going on weather-wise. What's up, Leslie? Yeah, look, I got a lot of people. It's just the first time that I've ever had this many people from YouTube. Usually this is mostly Facebook, but tonight we got some people on here from YouTube. I've started doing a lot more on YouTube. You know, I just finally just got tired of all of the crazy overhyped stuff all over YouTube and said, screw it, I'm going to start doing stuff myself and try to start, getting good information out there instead of relying on all this crap you see all over the place. So Kristen wants to know, was Borat's skit totally improvised? And yeah, I mean, it was. All right. So just in case you didn't know, I am the weatherman in the movie Borat. If you've ever seen Borat, I'm the weatherman in that. Okay. So what happened on that day was Sacha Baron Cohen came into the station fully dressed as Borat. This is before I really even knew who Borat was. He was with his, the little chubby producer guy, and they told us that I was at a TV station, WAPT in Jackson, Mississippi, and that's when they told us that hey, we got this TV crew coming in from Kazakhstan that wants to videoing a documentary across America showing what life is like in America and sending it back home. They want to come to the TV station to show what life is like here in the country and going to show like the news, that kind of stuff. So anyway, he sits down, he starts interviewing with Brad McMullen, who was my morning anchor at that time at WAPT. And of course, very, very funny, very, very, very funny. Whenever he's interviewing with Brad, then I'm sitting there doing the weather. And then next thing you know, he's over there kissing me on the cheeks. So that was definitely improvised. It was not anything that was pre-rehearsed. What's up, Christian? What's up, Michael? Wow, 15 degrees in Montana and snowing. All right, so let's talk about the weather then. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to look at the evening run here of the HRRR computer model. All right, I like the HRRR computer model. It usually does a pretty good job. I'm looking at all of this on what's called the pivotal site here. So what we're going to start by doing is looking at what's called the this is what radar would look like. I don't have the color palettes, the winter color palettes overlaid yet, because what I want to show you is just the storm itself. So this would be tomorrow morning. You're starting to see some radar returns, nothing reaching the ground yet. But as we get towards tomorrow afternoon, late in the afternoon, and especially tomorrow night, you begin to probably see tomorrow evening anyway, you start to see developing showers there across Missouri there and into Kansas and Nebraska. Initially, you'd probably see warm air riding up over any cold air at the Earth's surface. So that probably at least initially be freezing rain and sleet, maybe some snow. Your main storm is down to the south, southern Kansas, northern Oklahoma at this point in time. But look at what happens as you head into the late night hours tomorrow night. Look at the brighter colors starting to show up. So that's heavier precipitation breaking out by early Sunday morning across eastern and northeastern Kansas back into Missouri. Now, a lot of this is going to be rain on the southern end of it, but the northern end of that will probably be freezing rain and snow, maybe some sleet too. And then here we are Sunday afternoon, and you're noticing some pretty good bands of heavy precipitation on the back side of that. That's probably snow there across Kansas, good part of Kansas there, and probably up closer to Kansas City. Matter of fact, if you look, you see almost a constant band of heavy precipitation in the Kansas City area. Now, the question is, in that particular area, what will the temperature profiles look like? Well, let's take a look here. This is Sunday morning. And if I'm just going to just look at this. I'm not going to explain what this is, but just looking at that, that's an all snow, what we call sounding. Maybe a little sleet in there, but mostly snow, Kansas City. And you can see as that storm races to the east. Also look at the line. We'll look at the severe weather aspects of it here in just a minute. But there's your winter storm there into Sunday. And then by Sunday, late morning, afternoon, a lot of that shifts over into Illinois and Indiana and those areas. We'll get to that in a moment too. So now let's put the precip type on there. Sometimes the HRRR computer model overdoes ice, but it does show, like I was talking about a minute ago, you start off with some warm, moist air riding up above the colder air at the Earth's surface. So you may start off with freezing rain there and where you see that pink colors. Further north where the air is a little bit, the colder air is thicker, might be snow there. And then there's your transition as we head towards late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. Well, you see that purple color, that could be some sleet, but it looks like, northern Missouri back into Kansas, pretty good snow in those areas. But again, Kansas City is right there on the border of it. Usually where you see that transition zone, you see sleet. So, some areas that are being forecasted for big, big snow numbers, you may be disappointed because if you wind up getting sleet mixing in with that, it'll bring those snowfall amounts down. I think that Kansas City probably stays mostly snow, but, we'll have to wait and see. And the evening data brings, let's see how much snowfall amounts it's bringing into those areas there. See, that just to me, look, that's some crazy snow amounts there. That would be Salina, Kansas, Concordia, Kansas, Topeka, Kansas City, 15 to 25 inches of snow. I don't know that we're going to see that much snow, but it certainly is possible. But let's go with a 10-to-1 snowfall ratio. Let's see if it brings the numbers down a little bit. Yeah, it does. So that's probably more accurate. And again, I think that some of these areas across Missouri, south of Kansas City, where it shows big snowfall amounts, may be more sleet than snow, and that will bring those numbers down here a bit. Here's a more reliable here's another look. This is what we call this is called the NBM model. And it usually is pretty conservative, but look at that. I mean, it just brings, good swaths of snow, and it looks like some really heavy snow there into central parts of Illinois there too. So let's go over here and look at what we got going on as far as precipitation in the Ohio River Valley. Let me go back to the HRRR computer model again. And I'm going to have to get dressed for the forecast here in a few minutes. But I just wanted to kind of go through this stuff with you quickly. And I've got videos posted on YouTube and on TikTok. And so again, there you see the sleet there, freezing rain and sleet there across a good part of Kentucky, southern Illinois there, back into Missouri. So you see, southern Illinois may stay with mostly freezing rain and sleet. But I think places like Cincinnati, Ohio, maybe even Lexington, Kentucky, it's a close call, but, could be some really heavy snow there on the northern band of that. But as that storm moves a little bit further to the east, you're going to start getting some warm air getting drawn in. So you may wind up seeing some of that snow mixed with some sleet or even change over to snow. And again, that could bring your snowfall amounts down. The HRRR, and again, you got to take this with a grain of salt. Shows the heaviest snowfall amounts there in that band from, northern Kansas through northern Missouri through, let's just say central and south central Illinois through St. Louis and down into southern Indiana and extreme northern Kentucky there is where your biggest snow amounts would be. And here, as far as ice goes, this would show, some pretty significant icing amounts there, southeastern parts of Missouri, basically extreme southern Illinois back there into parts of Kentucky there. And some of those areas could see icing amounts up over half an inch. If that happens, there's going to be some power outages. Of course, the travel is going to be very, very, very treacherous. So now I want to go down quickly before I have to get off of here. Quickly look at the severe weather aspects of things with this particular system. Remember, I was actually home in Mississippi last week. We had a moderate risk for severe weather, and we had a good line that moved through with numerous tornado warnings. No tornadoes at my parents' house, though. But if you look, there's your line of thunderstorms along the Arctic front there by midday Sunday. Now, we may have to watch. There may be a little secondary area. It looks like there might be a few little convective cells out ahead of the main line that, those may try to rotate a little bit. Those could be some little supercells out ahead of the main line itself. I still think the main severe weather concern is with the line. Let's look at the parameters there. And I'm just going to quickly look at the significant tornado parameters. And then we'll kind of do a little forecast based upon that. So they're there. I mean, it's not out of the question. I mean, especially if you get a little band of some supercells out ahead of that main line. Now, we could wind up seeing some. If I look at this sounding, I think that this is probably contaminated a bit because there's precipitation in that area there. But, I wouldn't be surprised to see some tornadoes there. Shear looks decent, not as strong as last week, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some tornadoes though. Sunday afternoon there, eastern parts, southeastern Arkansas, back in Louisiana, western parts of Mississippi along the Mississippi River could be some of that. So that's the warm side of this winter storm. So let me see here. We got some questions that are now being asked here, and I'll try to answer them in the next few minutes if I can. So, any news for Wichita Falls? I am watching. Again, the cold weather moving in, and I am watching. A piece of energy on the backside of the cold air. And it's not out of the question that could perhaps bring some sort of precipitation mid to late next week. We have to just see how much cold air is left over and the track and there. It's just too many uncertainties. So as of right now, I'm saying low probabilities of it, but it's not out of the question there. So Oklahoma, Joanne, extreme northern Oklahoma. I'm talking north of Oklahoma City. You could see a little bit of snow late on Saturday night, early Sunday up that way. So 48 inches. Yeah, I would say 4 to 8 is pretty good. Kimberly says 4 to 8 inches in central Illinois. That's about right. I think that Cincinnati is going to get more snow than ice. And John wants to know: are we having a severe weather, a winter storm next week? As of right now, no, we're not. But it's again not out of the question. It's going to get real cold here in central. Yeah, it is going to be brutally cold. I'm talking about probably low temperatures below zero there in central Illinois. On top of that snowpack, and then probably seeing, wind chills. You're going to be cold. It just looks really cold for about the next week or two there in central Illinois. So Christian says, I appreciate your forecast among the bogus Facebook cast. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Again, it's, I am a little bit rough on these guys that are just hobbyists and whatnot. And the reason why is because they're just doing it, get clickbaits and whatnot. A lot of them are real rude too. But at the end of the day, though, I mean, it is free speech and they can do what they want to do. But it's my job as a seasoned, educated meteorologist who's been doing this for a long time to be more the voice of reason. So that's what I aim to do. Our low temperatures next week, Tanner, probably from forecasting some teens next week. As a matter of fact, the lowest temperature I have for next week is Monday night to Tuesday. I'm going to 16. It's pretty cold there. Highs in the 30s. Coldest weather we've seen for a while. So. All right. So what I'm going to do, are we going to eventually get a snow? You never know, James. The weather pattern could at some point favor it. You got to have the pattern we have now isn't that unfavorable for it. You got the cold air coming in from the north. You got the split jet, the southern jet there, pieces of energy along it. That's what you want to see. But it looks to me like the polar jet might be too strong, and it could keep that southern piece of energy kind of locked away, and it may not line up. Everything has to line up. So we'll have to just see if it will. Yeah, it's going to be very cold there in central Illinois for sure, Kimberly, for sure. So, but you never know. Our biggest month for winter weather here in Northwest Texas, Southwest Oklahoma is February. So maybe we'll get it. All right, guys, thank you for joining me. Then I usually do Weather After Dark. It's called Weather After Dark. I usually do it about this time of night, Monday through Friday. If there's weather going on, we'll talk about weather. But most of the time, we'll talk about weather-related stuff or just stuff in general. Ask the weatherman any question you want to, and we go there with it. So, all right, guys, I got to go get ready for the newscast, which comes on here in less than 12 minutes. You'll have a great night and a great weekend, and I'll be looking out for you with updates over the weekend on these storms.